One of the races or people who do the most photographs are the Indonesians. And quite a few times I've almost missed connecting flights when I've been transiting in Singapore, and Indonesians are in the same airport, and they always want photographs. And I try to remind them that in a great monument in Yogyakarta, Borobudur, they have banned taking photographs, especially flash photographs, because it degrades the stone. And I said, well, me too, I'm getting old, you're degrading my good looks. It doesn't work though. And I don't know why people like taking photographs of me. I'm now old and fat. In the old days, I was young and fit and handsome. No one wanted to take photographs of me then. So any of you or your children wanting to be supermodels, tell them to get fat and get old and lose all their hair, and you get more photographs taken of you. So I think, many of you know me for many years, and I was just telling somebody out there, sometimes when I come back, it's like seeing old friends. You recognise people you've known for years, and it's nice to see you all again. So thank you for coming and catching up again. And I'm doing whatever I can to be able to serve. A good excuse for coming here is by giving you some teachings of, from the heart, some kindness. And adding that kindness to the mindfulness, it does become kindfulness. I was mentioning earlier this morning about the different levels of mindfulness, and to notice that when we add kindness to the mindfulness, it gives it more power. It's such a simple thing to do, but it's so effective. So whatever you are aware of, please add the kindness, and then you find you enjoy it much more. And because you're enjoying what you're doing much more, it's easier to keep your attention on what you're enjoying. This morning when I talked about that clump of bamboo, it looked so beautiful to me, I could not take my eyes off it. And that's just what happens. Whatever's beautiful and attractive, your eyes get dragged there. One of my followers many years ago went to Dharamsala to see His Holiness the Dalai Lama. She had to wait for a few days before she could actually meet with him, but in the meantime she enjoyed meditating in the hall, and one day she said she was meditating early in the main hall there, but her meditation soon got shot because someone came and sat next to her. It wasn't the Dalai Lama who sat next to her. She just took a quick glance. It was Richard Gere. And that was the end of her meditation. And that's actually what happens. Sometimes things which you like, you keep looking at. So if your meditation was attractive to you as Richard Gere, if you're female, or Taylor Swift, if you're a guy, is that right? I'm just checking in with you because I don't know. But if it's something attractive, you can't take your eyes off them. And that's one of the tricks with meditation. Why do people have a restless mind? I asked that question of myself many years ago. All I needed to do was to watch. I was watching my breathing then. What a simple thing to do, just to watch your breath go in, watch it go out. Such a simple thing to do. Why does it get so hard? My mind used to wander off, and then what I'd do is bring it back again, and then it'd wander off again, and I'd bring it back again, and I'd wander off again, and I'd bring it back again. For about 2 or 3 years. I was so stupid. It never worked. So instead of trying to use force or willpower, I decided to use wisdom power. Why did my mind wander off? Why did I try and bring it back kindly and it wandered off again? Why? And then I started contemplating. Why that when I'm with some people I enjoy their company just almost all day? Why other people I want to get away from them as soon as possible? Why? And I noticed that if you are kind and caring, that you like to be with people. Like, today, Gerald took me out for a delicious lunch, and because I was happy to be there with him, not just because I could get something nice to eat, but because he's a good friend. And so when you're with a good friend, you love to be with him, doesn't matter how long. But if you're with a control freak, if it's somebody who always tells you what to eat, how to eat it, when to eat it, and what to do with it, do you like being with people like that? To make it quite clear what I'm saying, suppose that when we finished here, you got a phone call from somebody. Would you like to come for a cup of coffee? And it's somebody you know, but you don't particularly like. And you could say, okay, I'm free, I'll come for a cup of coffee. And then they tell you what coffee shop you have to go to, what type of coffee you have to drink, where you're going to sit in the coffee shop, and how long are you going to sit there for, and what you're going to talk about, when you're in the coffee shop. If you're with somebody like that, in this simile I say that you'll say, oh, I'm terribly sorry, I just remembered I have to go and see the dentist. You make an excuse not to go, because no one likes to be with a control freak, telling you what to drink, where to sit, and what to talk about. But if after you close off your mobile phone, you get another call. First of all, you make your appointment with the dentist to keep your precepts so you don't lie, and then you get another phone call from this really nice person. He said, are you free? Because I know you like coffee, but I found this really wonderful coffee shop. I think you might like it. Would you like to come this afternoon? And he said, well, for how long? However long you want. You can sit wherever you like. You can eat whatever you want. And I know you've always been interested in this Buddhism stuff, so you can tell me about Buddhism if you wish. And if it's somebody like that who's very kind and caring and interested in you, and you say, okay, I'm cancelling my dentist appointment, I'll see you there in half an hour. And you spend all afternoon there. Time just flies by. You don't get restless at all, because you're with a dear friend. And that's how use that simile to overcome any restlessness. If I am, say, watching my breathing is like a dear old friend. I spend so many happy hours with my breath, and I don't need to do anything else when I'm closing my eyes and watching my breath. No one can ask me a question. If they want to take a photograph, just do it. I don't know. So I can be nice and quiet, just my breath and I chilling out together. And I don't know if you've done this before with a dear good friend, but sometimes you can chill out together all afternoon and time flies by. You have a beautiful, peaceful, happy time. If you can do that with your breath, then you know what meditation is. The problem I had before, I was trying to control my meditation, control my breath, like capture it. Don't you dare go away, breath. You stay here, otherwise, or you're going to be sorry you were ever born, breath. That is not the way to meditate. Even I was telling Gerald, it was actually Freddie yesterday, that one of the temples we first went to when I first came to Hong Kong, was it Wao Fat Chin? Yeah. there was a wonderful temple I went to for many reasons, but there used to be many visiting monks came there. And one visiting monk came from mainland China. And it doesn't matter where you're from, we always chat. Okay, gossip you might say. So I said, what's it like in Buddhist temples in mainland China? And he told me that in the temple he was in recently, they had done a Zen meditation retreat. And in that Zen meditation retreat, the master came down the line of meditators, they were lay meditators, with the Zen stick. And there was one middle-aged lady who was falling asleep. So with the Zen stick, the master whacked her on the back. You know what happened? She got out her mobile phone and called the police. True. And the police came and arrested that monk. That was the end of that retreat. You can't do that in these days. People have got right. Anyway, they couldn't do that there, so it was the end of that retreat. So it's nice, the sort of little gossip and stories which you collect when you go to these different places. But anyway, even, fair enough, you should never fear falling asleep in meditation. You're kind. That's something which, again, not just restlessness, but even sloth and torpor, I struggled with for many years. We used to do all these amazing tricks to overcome sloth and torpor. One of them, I was just thinking, I can use my little clock here. One of the tricks we used to do, because you never realised when you were falling asleep, you put a matchbox, just a tray, take the cover off and put it on your head. Because what that meant is when you started to nod, it will fall off and make a noise. So I did that for many days, and finally I could sit for hours without the matchbox falling off my head. And I thought I had beaten sloth and torpor. But then one of the monks took me aside and said, Ajahn Brahm, you haven't defeated sloth and torpor. Just now when you are falling asleep, instead of doing this, you're doing this. That's true. The psychology, the head was sort of compensating, it's still getting sleepy. So for many years I was concerned about sloth and torpor, falling asleep when you're meditating a lot. But the thing which really taught me what sloth and torpor is was when I had the opportunity. I was a monk in Thailand, in the forests. We used to get up really early in the morning at 3 a.m. We're only supposed to sleep 4 hours, but honestly I cheated. I slept 4.5 hours every night, not much. And the food was absolutely disgusting. Honestly it was. Some of the food which I ate, actually put in my mouth and ate, one was only one meal a day, not like these days. I have a breakfast as well as lunch. I've got just a security. If the lunch is not good, I can have a good breakfast. If the breakfast is not good, I can have a good lunch. In those, you only had one meal and that was it. A ball of sticky rice, glutinous rice, with a frog on top. That was all for one meal of the day. The frog was not fried, not boiled, no seasoning, no garlic, no chili, no salt, just like a boiled frog with no seasoning, about this big. Big frog. And that was your one meal of the day. And honestly, before I was a monk, I was a vegetarian. But I was told that, this in the forest, you just have whatever food people can find. And so that day was frog on rice. Boiled frog. Now, you know what happened? You can tell your kids this story because I was so grateful I paid attention during the biology lessons. I knew what part of a frog was which, but the monk sitting next to me did not know what part of a frog was which. So when he was picking the inside to get something to eat with the sticky rice, he pressed something we call the bladder of the frog. That's correct, it still had urine in, and that frog peed all over his rice. That's honest, disgusting but honest. So he couldn't eat anymore after that. So those were some of the disgusting food we used to eat. It was just what locals ate. But nevertheless, I had enough to survive, but always a bit hungry. I make up for it in my old age as a monk. But I remember just was asked to do my visa over in Bangkok to spend another year in Thailand. So we found a monastery which had a new building where visiting monks could stay. And so we had a place which we could close the windows so no mosquitoes came in. We had good food, in Bangkok, and no frogs. And also we found there was one room which they were using as a lecture room, which had an air conditioner. Whoa! And in the early morning, you used to still get up at 3:30. No one used it. So we got the key and we used to sit there in the morning. A nice cool room, having had a good sleep that night, having had good food. No sloth and torpor at all. The climate was good. My belly was satisfied and I had slept enough. And I realized that much of my sleepiness was not that I was a bad meditator. It was just the conditions were not supportive for me in the forests of northeast Thailand. I was sleep deprived, malnourished, in a hot sticky climate which somebody in London could not take. And I look at you here, even right now I'm a bit warm. The temperature here, I'm not quite sure what it is. And I still can't believe that some of you got hats on. And you got jackets and some, even blankets on. Wow, how can you do that? It's just my metabolism was different. And that caused me the sleepiness. And once I realized it wasn't my fault, it made the solutions much easier to find. And one of the solutions was, even though it was still very hot and sticky in those jungle monasteries northeast Thailand, even though still not sleeping enough or not eating nutritious food, I learned not to worry about being sleepy. I realized this is natural. And I even went as far as thinking if the Buddha was born in London and sat in Bodh Gaya, it's really hot for him, even he might have fallen asleep. In other words, there's no blame there, it is cause and effect. So when I didn't blame myself, I just stayed being sleepy. If people told me off, you are just sleepy, I said, yeah, it's not my fault, it's just cause and effect. Because I didn't blame myself, I was at peace being sleepy. And that's an important thing to understand. When you don't fight it, the little bit of energy which I had was not wasted. And the energy just built all by itself. My back even straightened by itself. The mind became more alert, and soon the sleepiness wasn't there anymore. I was mindful, alert. when I fought my sleepiness and did battle with it, sometimes you would conquer it and the sleepiness would go, but would be exchanged by restlessness. So I'd calm down my restlessness and I'd fall asleep again. Could never find that middle spot where you're just aware but not restless, and the awareness is sharp. And that's how it's done. I've taught this so many times. If you ever are sleepy, then just stay with the sleepiness. Don't fight it. Make peace with it. It's not your fault. You've been working too hard, or someone gave you too much sticky date pudding for lunch. That's what I had for lunch today. And so, after a while, you just stay with it. Don't waste your energy, and you wake up automatically, naturally, all by yourself. And your mind is peaceful, and it's enjoyable. And because it's enjoyable, that's where the sleepiness vanishes, and also the restlessness vanishes. It's always a strange thing. In many meditation classes, people forget to teach you how to have happy meditation. I must admit that yesterday when I went to the Theravada Buddhist Society of Hong Kong, they're following mostly the teachings of Ajahn Brahm, who I know extremely well. He spent a rains retreat at Disiruwana many years ago. And we'd ask him often, he was a monk who just, you know the story, when a king cobra came up to him in a forest. In that part of Thailand in the northeast, they had a nickname for the king cobra. They used to call a king cobra the one-step snake. Why'd they call it one-step snake? It hasn't got any feet. He said the reason they call it one-step snake is if it bites you, that's all you've got left of your life. One step and you're dead. It's extremely venomous. So this king cobra, Ajahn Brahm was sitting meditation on the forest floor, and the king cobra came up to him. Just lifted its head just right at the same level as Ajahn Brahm's nose. Opened its hood right in front of his nose. That's pretty scary. If you're sitting on the ground, it's hard to jump up and run away. So what Ajahn Brahm did, he lifted up his hand and patted the king cobra on the head. Thank you for coming to visit me. You know, it's really rare that a king cobra can have his head patted. So that snake loved every moment of it. And once that Ajahn Brahm had patted its head enough, the cobra drew in its hood, went down on the ground, and went to see one of the other monks. Lifted up its head, opened its hood, and the other monk said, no, if you want to pat, go back to see Ajahn Brahm, not me, no. And that was the story. But that monk, Ajahn Brahm, was so kind. As I said, when he came to visit Bodhinyana Monastery, this was in the early years. We were building our main hall where we have our... Actually, we hadn't even started building it yet. We just put in the plans to the local council for permission to build. And so the mayor of Serpentine Jarradale Council came to visit, to check up on us. And the mayor was a local farmer. And the mayor came in a lovely suit and a tie. He was the mayor. But the suit was only buttoned in the middle, and even that button could pop off any time, because that mayor was as fat as I am, probably more. And as soon as Ajahn Brahm saw this really fat Australian mare, he went right up to him, and just like the king cobra, he didn't pat the mare on the head, he rubbed him on the tummy. And I saw that from a distance, and I froze in terror. Look, this is the mare. You don't do such things like that to a mare in Australia. That's culturally so inappropriate. But then I saw the mare, who didn't have any idea what Buddhism was, just smile and, I could say, gurgle like a baby. He loved every moment of having his head, his tummy massaged by such a holy monk as Ajahn Brahm. And that mare became one of our closest friends of our monastery. So we got all our permissions, no problem at all. Thank you, Ajahn Brahm. You can tame snakes, you can tame mares. But when we would ask Ajahn Brahm to teach, we knew he had great meditation. You know what he would teach? He would say, when you breathe in, Sabai. The word Sabai. Any Thai people here, Thai speakers? The word Sabai means nice and easy and really beautiful. Breathe in beautifully, lovely, joyfully, and breathe out the most beautiful breath you've ever breathed out in your life. And that was it. That was all the instructions he would give. And sometimes I think I give too many instructions. That's the only instructions Ajahn Brahm would give, and that was really to the point. When you're meditating, kind of put joy into it and happiness. You're not at work today. You don't have to do any duties. Your family, your kids, your grandparents, whatever it is you have to look after at home, you don't have to do anything today. A totally free day. How more the word Sabai can that be? Just sitting in here, listening to an old monk tell old jokes, and just relaxing to the max. How much better can life become than being here just relaxing to the max? And people give this the name religion. Is it religion? It's supposed to be. As I tell people in Australia when they ask me, is Buddhism a religion? You know my answer? I said, yes it is, for tax purposes anyway. But it's a very peaceful, deep way of finding out the truth. Inner happiness, everything which a religion should do, without the burden of feeling guilty or punishment or having to strive so hard to get something. It's a very peaceful religion, very joyful one, the sort of thing which people want to do, if they're Buddhist or not. What's wrong with just sitting here, just making your mind so peaceful, so beautiful? Breathing in Sabai. Breathing out Sabai. And that's right in there in the Buddha's teachings for people who know their teachings on meditation. Breathe in, experiencing what we call piti sukha. This is the Pali. Joy and happiness. That is one of the reasons I became a Buddhist meditator. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was powerful. It was deep. And I got some of the most enjoyable experiences of my life through meditation. I mean, real joy. And I don't know if I've said this to you before. There was sometimes, I remember years ago, sometimes I thought that the meditation became so pleasurable. I thought no human being can endure or take so much pleasure. I mean, that's how pleasurable it becomes. But I discovered a great truth. You can take more pleasure. In other words, the type of pleasure which does you no harm, which you don't get addicted to. Just this beautiful sense of inner freedom. So this is what the meditation does, and how joyful it becomes. And that is one of the reasons why, if any of you come up to me afterwards or any other time during this tour or any other tour and say you've had some beautiful meditation, honestly, I don't listen to your words. I look at your face and see if there's a big stupid smile on your face. Stupid smile, that's not really the right word. But I remember this one lady. Yeah, she was Malaysian, and after one 9-day retreat, she came up after the end of the retreat, and she'd actually been trying really hard, didn't get anywhere in her meditation. But then when the meditation retreat was over, she had to wait till the taxi to come to take her to the airport to go back home to Kuala Lumpur. And she had an hour to wait for the taxi. So she said she just went into the meditation hall to meditate, to kill time. It's the first time in the retreat she stopped expecting anything. And then before the hour was finished, she'd come up to me. I was sitting on a chair. This was a retreat in Thailand, and I was having some apple juice or something. And she came and bowed, and she looked up at me just like someone, maybe a daughter or a good friend, who's fallen in love for the first time. Ajahn Brahm, oh, Ajahn Brahm, oh, it's so wonderful, oh, oh. Like, obviously I can't imitate it. She'd had her first really deep meditation, and the look on her eyes, the meditation afterglow, was all the proof which I needed that she had a very deep, beautiful time. So this meditation, it makes you really happy. I mean, really happy. More happy than you felt ever before. And it shows all over your face you've had a nice deep meditation. That is something you cannot fake. But I just wanted to warn you, if you carry on this meditation, that's what's going to happen to you. Your smile is going to get more natural, more big, more happy. And the health benefits of that are enormous. You know, the very fact that you just got all this energy in your body, what that can heal is enormous. Please excuse me for wandering off all over the place in this talk, but I always recall one of the lectures I went to see at university. It was one of the extracurricular activities. I was a member of the Psychic Research Society. So we used to do all sorts of things like hunting ghosts. We'd actually go looking for them, not running away. But we also had a hypnotist would come every year. And one of the things this hypnotist did, it hypnotized one of the students quite deeply, and had a stick and with a 4-inch nail on the end. And he convinced this student to believe that this nail was red hot. And then he touched this student's bare skin on his arm with this needle, which was at room temperature. But this student was hypnotized to believe it was red hot, and the student screamed in pain when it touched his skin. And I thought, that's understandable, hypnosis, the power of such belief. But what really shocked me was to see a blister come up where that nail had touched his skin. There was no physical cause for that at all. At least I couldn't see the physical cause. Just the belief it was red hot had created a blister on this guy's skin. And I always remember that. You see it with your own eyes. Of course, there's no fraud or fake there. But then I thought, well, if such degree of belief or confidence can create a blister, can't it shrink a tumour? Can't it heal some problem in the body which, sometimes people say is terminal? I should actually tell people, I'm always honest with you, that some of the doctors told me I have terminal disease. Next week I go to Hong Kong air terminal and then to Changi air terminal before I visit many terminals. I must have terminal Okay, that's only a joke. You understand that, don't you, I hope? Otherwise you come back and say, Ajahn Brahm, poor Ajahn Brahm, you're going to die soon. It's only a joke, I'm perfectly healthy. But anyway, if that's what the mind can do, imagine what it can do when you really got a lot of energy inside of it. That's why this is something I love about being a monk, because if any of you have any really serious health concerns, I do a little bit of chanting for you, that's one thing. But there's also just the power of the mind, and creating that confidence in your own mind, the ability to meditate, to be still, and to harness that inner power and see what it can do. And I've just seen just too many amazing things happen. Sometimes I get into trouble for it. A very good example of that, quite a few years ago, I probably told you this story the last time I came here, because it's about 5 or 6 years older story. I was called to our local hospital's ICU room. There was a Chinese family, and their elder, the patriarch of their family, was in the ICU. He was dying, he was in coma, and the family asked me to do some chanting for him. And sometimes I'm kind, some people say too kind, but I don't mind. So I stopped whatever I was doing, went into the hospital, an hour's car ride, and got into the ICU. I was really late, so I never actually checked with the family exactly what they wanted. I just went into the ICU and did my chanting and meditation for this gentleman. And it was actually almost miraculous. He came out of his coma, and the doctors said, well, if he's out of his coma now, there's a really good chance he's going to survive. And I was so pleased with myself. A fellow was supposed to die, was now going to live for at least a few months or a year or two. And when I went to tell the family, they were really upset with me, honestly. And they said, we brought you in here not to chant so you could get better. We wanted you to give him a peaceful send-off. They'd come from many different countries, I think even from Hong Kong and Taiwan and many other places, for his last time to see their patriarch for one last time before he left this world. And they had even arranged a funeral service already. And this white monk comes along and spoils everything. They weren't happy with me at all. Usually they give some donation, they gave no donation at all. They're happy to see back of me. They said, look, we've got to come back maybe 6 months when he dies properly, but next time we're not going to invite you. So that's one of the reasons why if you ask me to do any chanting for you, make sure I do the correct chanting. If you've got sort of a mother or father sick in hospital, say, no, we don't want them to die peacefully, we want them to get better chanting. Totally different chanting. So please, please let me know what chanting you want. Not my fault. Yeah, maybe it was my fault for not asking. But anyway, that was just the funny side of that true story. The interesting side is that, these things do have power. And I say that as a scientist. How does it work? The energy of meditation is so enormous. The mind is the forerunner of all things. It can create a blister mark when there's no real cause for it. And it can actually take away problems in the body, which are not supposed to be taken away through things like meditation. That's how powerful it is. So that's one of the reasons why, when you know how to meditate properly, with no fear, just being in this moment, being kind in this moment, enjoying this moment, you get so much joy and happiness. Meditation is not like going to any dentist people here. Okay. It's not like going to a dentist, which you don't like making an appointment for. I just check first of all there's no dentist here, otherwise you might sue me or something. But it's something you really enjoy doing. It's fun. And it energizes you. And it makes you healthy. And it makes you wise. It makes you more kind. It's such an easy thing to sell. I'm in Hong Kong now, and you like selling things. That's the nicest thing to sell. Sell happiness and peace and good health and joy and harmony, being able to live with one another. I mentioned this earlier. Why do people ask monks to do blessings for marriages? It's because we do understand what it's like to live with another person. I don't know how we understand this, but anyhow, you know that what I often say at marriage blessings, I usually start by looking at the bride. They've just exchanged rings and their commitments. And I look at her and I tell her, from now on, you are a married woman. It's different than being single. From this day on, you must not think of yourself. She understands that. And I look at the guy, the groom, and I said, from this day on, you must not think of yourself either. He nods his assent. Eventually, I don't know what it is about men, but they pause first of all. And then, still looking at the guy, I say, from this moment on, you must not think of yourself, nor must you ever think of her, your wife. And when I first said this, there's this wonderful reaction. You didn't need to read minds to know what they were thinking. Who is this stupid monk? What does it mean by this? I'm not supposed to think of my wife anymore. And I look at her and said, same with you. You must not think of your husband from this day on. And then they're trying to figure out, is this a joke or is this something serious? This is not a joke. This is serious. When you are together, you must never think of yourself, nor must you think of your partner. You must only think of us. The third option. You're in this together. So whatever problems you have, they're not his problems, they're not her problems. They are our problems. If there's economic problems in Hong Kong or in the People's Republic of China, is it China's problem? No, it's not. It's Australia's problem as well. It's the world's problem. It's our problem. I appreciate that very easily, because I know so many of you so well that if you have a problem, I have a problem. It's our problem. And that's a different way of looking at the world. A beautiful way of looking at the world. When it's our problem, we can always find a solution together. So anyway, that's about how to meditate and how to be in this present moment and how to care. Not to cure, because there'll always be conflicts. If there was no conflicts in this world, all the soldiers would be out of a job. Then what would they do? As long as they don't fire real bullets. That's what Ajahn Brahm said once. Once of his followers was drafted in the Thai army and asked Ajahn Brahm for advice. What should I do? Should I refuse and be sent to jail? Or should I, join up and just, I might get into a firefight somewhere. What should I do? And Ajahn Brahm said, no, you should join up. And when you are training, train really well. Especially know how to shoot those rifles accurately. And this young man was so surprised at Ajahn Brahm's advice. Why should I train so well to be able to shoot accurately? So when anybody shoots at you, you can always shoot accurately to miss. So you never needed to harm any other human being. But he said your lieutenant or major, whoever's commanding that unit, will never know that you missed on purpose. You can only miss on purpose if you know how to shoot accurately. And that was his advice. Kind of interesting advice. But anyhow, that is just how to live a nice, peaceful life together. What's more important? I've said this story so many times. How many of you haven't heard of the chicken and the duck story? My goodness. That's a lot. Okay, here it comes again. And if you feel upset you're listening to old stories again and again and again, please appreciate that I've heard this story more than anybody. Every time I tell it, I hear it again. Okay, here it comes. A couple, they just recently been married, walking through the forest one afternoon, and as they were walking through the forest they heard the sound quack quack, quack quack. And the wife said, "Oh darling, can you hear that? That's a chicken." And he said, "Pardon me? There's a chicken." And he said, "It's not a chicken, darling. That was a duck. Ducks go quack quack, chickens don't go quack quack, that was the duck." And she said, "No, that was a chicken." He said, "It can't be, it was a duck." "No, it's a chicken." And he went quack quack again. "There you go, it's a chicken." She said, "No, it's a duck." He said, "It's a chicken, it's a duck." And then her eyes went all watery. "It's a chicken." She was about to burst into tears. And this man, wise, very rare to find a man like this, looked her in the eyes and remembered why he married her. He squeezed her hand gently and said, "Darling, I think you may be right. That is a chicken." He went quack quack again. She said, "Thank you, darling." And they continued their walk together in peace and harmony. He got a nice hot dinner that evening. What's more important? Being right or being in harmony and love? And anyway, why do we always feel that we are right and the other one is wrong? Because I have told that story for so many years. Many people, when they go on Google or Wikipedia or somewhere, then they get all this information. And I didn't bring it with me. I have over in Perth the little piece of paper about a little duckling who was a little chicken who was orphaned and was adopted and brought up by a family of ducks. And you can imagine what happens. Its brothers and sisters who soon were ducks, and so this little chicken grew up and can speak duck language. A chicken who actually does go quack quack. So because of that, there is at least one chicken who goes quack quack. So the wife may have been right. Unlikely, but give her the benefit of the doubt. So anyway, that's how to live in peace and harmony together.